It's time for Maggie and the Moms. Sponsored by Tampa General Hospital.
It was 6 years ago that Tamron Hall became a mom. Her son Moses was born in April of 2019, and 5 months later, her other baby, you might say, came along. Her namesake talk show, which recently celebrated its 1,000th episode. It is such an honor to welcome to Maggie and the Moms, the host of Tamron Hall, author of a number of best-selling books, including her latest Harlem Honey, The Adventures of a Curious Kid, which was an instant New York Times bestseller. Welcome, 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 Tamron Hall. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Maggie, and I'm so happy to see you and be here with you. Next time it will be in person, but any conversation with you, whether it's in person or on Zoom, is a high quality one. So I'm happy to be here.
Wow, the honor is mine. I have so been looking forward to this conversation, and I can say the same for our producer, Deanna Moore. She is here at the helm as always. Three mamas.
Hi, Deanna.
Hello, Tamron. Thank you for joining us.
So three mamas, going to talk mom stuff, going to talk about the book, going to talk about your show. So much to get to. I'd like to start by saying happy belated Mother's Day. Just celebrated Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you. Same, same. I mean, it's so exciting. We were in New Orleans. I was on the road moderating a conversation with Tina Knowles, Beyonce, and Solange Knowles'
wow.
mom. Her
that.
book, her New York Times bestseller, Matriarch. And so it was so funny. I agreed to moderate in New Orleans, and I thought, okay, I have to rush back on Sunday on the 6 a.m. flight to be home for Mother's Day with my son. And then I thought, okay, well, no. I'll just take him out of school and we'll all fly to New Orleans and make it a weekend. And I flew my mom in. So we turned the weekend into a Mother's Day weekend, which, you know, as a parent, and I'm sure you've thought about this before, it's like, oh, do I take them out of school for this? Or do I? And there are so many things that they get to learn by watching us work and seeing us in action. So I hedged my bets. I was like, it's kindergarten. You can miss a day or two of kindergarten. I think you're fine. And he went on the road with me to New Orleans.
I was going to say the answer to that question is almost always yes. You take him out of school.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
For things that are worth it. Listen, Moses, 6 years old, just turned, the inspiration behind your beautiful children's book. I know you're very proud of it, and rightfully so. Yeah. Moses is the name of the character in the book. It's the name of your son. How did he inspire it?
You know, I have to tell you, Maggie, and we've known each other for a while, and we have mutual friends as women in this industry and as moms who are trying to balance out, if that is even the word, this life of in-home and out of home. During the pandemic, my show was shut down, and we were filming in my home, in my basement, an entire season of our show. At home, my son was super confident. You know, he's got more attention than ever from me because we're in the home. Yes. So I got a chance to see the first step, the first tooth, the first like falling down the stairs and me not wondering what am I going to do. All those firsts that I likely would have missed working out of the home.
Right.
Now I'm there doing the talk show and spending a lot of great quality time, even in those fearful moments with my son. When the world opened up, again, at least here in New York, my son was 2. He never even attended a birthday party.
Wow.
We go to the birthday party in person, and my son, who was super excited about this birthday and he's hiding behind me. He doesn't want to go inside. He is completely different. And I recognize that this kid felt safe and bold and confident at home. And that was all not showing up in the world. And I said to myself, well, how do we get past this, right? We don't live in a world anymore where we say to kids, don't be afraid or don't cry. Big kids don't cry. We look for social and emotional support through what we now know. And so I said, okay, curiosity. I was nicknamed not necessarily as a kid because I was contrary. Surprise, surprise, that I've become a journalist, that I question everything. Miss not necessarily at 5 years old. How do I use curiosity to inspire my son and other children to look past the fear and to recognize that when change happens or new experiences happen or you meet new people, curiosity can help ease the fear. And so that inspired the book.
And I know it's a love letter to him, to encourage him to face his fears, but I feel like we tell our kids these things and we have
Mhm.
to kind of show what we're saying. So is that something that
Yeah,
you do? Do you have any fears
absolutely.
left to face?
Oh my gosh, every day, the fear of failure, the fear of trying something new and different, the fear of not being enough, whether that's for my family or for myself sometimes, I think that there are moments where we get a big interview. We just got an exclusive interview with Kelsey Grammer. He came out with his memoir about the loss of his sister. And, it was a very competitive booking. And we're fighting tooth and nail with some bigger shows and shows that have been on longer. And we build a relationship with Kelsey and his team. And they said, okay, we want you to come on. I was terrified inside because I understand how difficult it is and was for him to come forward with this pain of losing his sister in the way that he did. And being a safe space and doing a good job. I was so afraid of failing, and I had to remove that from in front of me and replace it with curiosity. Why now, Kelsey, are you deciding to tell this story? Why did it create, this pain your entire life where he was having great success, but as he talked about in the book, was numbing himself for the
Mm,
guilt that he carried from age 20 about what happened to his sister. So for me, every day I find a way to use curiosity, but absolutely, I still get butterflies. Someone said to me the other day, do you get butterflies when you walk out the TH doors? And those are the doors that lead into the audience. And I said, I do. And they said, well, they tell you, if you don't still get butterflies, then it's not important. And I said, it
yes.
is important. So I'm
Yes.
happy to embrace those butterflies.
Yes, amen to that. I feel like that fear paralyzes so many of us
Mhm.
to not be our full selves. And
Yeah, yeah,
right?
fear of aging. I had a guest recently who was adamant about not saying their age, and I didn't question it. I respect it, but I also get how society, especially women, become afraid to wear our age proudly because not because we don't feel good or maybe even look good. It's that can come with a negative response from society, whether it's
Hmm.
in the workplace or in the world, that we don't have a value anymore after you're a certain age. I'm a few months shy of my 55th birthday. I never would have imagined that this is what 55 felt like. When I was in my 20s, 55 was like a mummy. And
Hmm.
now I guess I am a mummy and a mommy. And so, but it feels good. It
Well,
feels
guess
good.
what?
It feels
I'm a
good.
mummy and a mommy too because I am 55, double
Yeah,
nickels
and it feels good.
right
It
here.
feels
You
And
look
good.
good, ladies.
I say it
You look
proudly.
amazing.
Deanna knows
Yeah.
I say it proudly all the time, but listen, I know you can relate to this even more so than I can. I had my youngest child at the age of 40. I know you had
Mm.
your child at the age of 48. I
Hmm.
got so much, I don't want to say hate, but old mom comments,
Hmm. Oh, yeah, yeah.
geriatric pregnancy. I
Yeah.
would love to know how you dealt with all of that and how
Oh,
you
wow.
feel
Yeah.
that being an old mom
Mm.
helps you and hurts you.
I'll tell you, when I first revealed, in fact, on this Mother's Day, I posted on my social media the video of when I first revealed 6 years ago that I was pregnant. I was 32 weeks pregnant before I revealed that I was having my son. And honestly, I had planned to go through with the entire birth and not say anything until after the fact.
Oh,
I
wow.
wasn't on TV at the time. I was off air building this show, so I wasn't exposed daily to people, and I was able to go to interviews and things. But we got a call from a tabloid, my team did, and they said, we know she's pregnant and we're going to tell this story, which I now know that they can't. But at the time, I'm like, ah.
Yeah, sure.
And what happened was that I scheduled my room at the hospital, and somehow, some way, someone got the word, and so I was like, oh boy, I'm rushed into now exposing that I'm pregnant. So I get past that. People magazine's articles like miracle baby. And I still wasn't like, even though I knew it was geriatric, Maggie and Deanna, I was like, it didn't. And then all of a sudden it's like miracle baby on the cover. And I'm like, what? Okay. And I knew I wanted to name him Moses. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me process what's happening here. And then I don't do it often. I did see a comment. I looked at a comment that said, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're not going to be around to see that
Oh
kid
my
um,
gosh.
be, an adult, and this is so guilt, so selfish of you. And I could have leaned into it, and probably for a minute or two I did, but
Hmm.
I lean into my faith, and I believe that if God did not want me to be this parent at this age, I would not be
That's
this
right. He
parent at
wouldn't
this
have given you
age.
the gift.
would not have given me the gift. So I was not going to waste that moment with God on someone who didn't deserve my time. And so for me, I of course, occasionally will go, "Oh my God, I went to my heart doctor recently." I'm like, "Check my heart out." And I said it to my doctor. I said, I feel like I come to see you more than ever before." And she said, "That has nothing to do with your age." She said, "That's parenting." Because
Exactly.
once she said, "I can tell you, whenever my patients become parents, they see health in such an urgent way because you're not just living for yourself." So
That's
I
right.
was like, okay,
And
that's
in
not just
that
because I'm
way,
old.
he keeps you young. You want to take
He
better care of
does,
yourself.
he does. And I actually, again, I don't give it much thought anymore.
Hmm.
I talk a lot more about IVF and the
Hmm.
journey. I have young women in my life who are in their 30s and they are coming to me saying, "Hey, I'd like to freeze my eggs." Egg freezing is up about like 28%. Now that companies are covering, in some cases, egg freezing, we're seeing the numbers continue to go up, 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 up. One in five women, I think, have their first child after the age of 40 now.
Hmm.
And so to me, it's less about, the geriatric nature of it and more about this opportunity that women like myself and you have, and that we do have the great fortune of doing something that women have never been able to do, which is have a child later in life.
But how do you really tune out that noise? I think everyday moms
Mm.
have to hear opinions about their body, about what they're doing, social media. But
Do
as
you
public
have to?
figures, you don't have
I
to.
don't
But
think you have
how
to.
do you do that? How do you tune out the
Mm.
noise when you're a public figure, both of you?
You
When,
tune into the station that's better for your ears, your
oh,
friends,
yes.
yourself. I mean, we don't have to, right? And I think that that's an important thing, Deanna, that we
Yes.
try to convey to younger women because we make ourselves feel like we have to, right? I
Hmm.
have to read the comments, or I have to hold the room to see, you don't. And I don't have to measure myself. We were just talking with Tina Knowles, and she was saying she taught her girls, Beyonce and Solange, not to measure themselves against each other or other people. Well, what? How do you do that? It's a steady drumbeat, right? To
Hmm.
yourself and to the people you love of what is important. And
Exactly.
my mom used to say to me, "We're not keeping up with the Joneses. We are the
Yes.
Joneses." And I would say, "Our
Exactly
last
right.
name is Hall." Wait, what? And so
Exactly
it's a
right.
daily exercise, right? It's just as, we try to eat healthy as best as possible, although I'm gonna eat some popcorn after this.
That's
We
healthy.
try to prioritize. It's not a one-time conversation, but I do think the biggest thing is removing what we feel we must do and what we need versus what we want to feed ourselves.
A
And I'm
100%.
choosing right now to do that. I hang out with my friends. Last night I made salmon, had one of my girlfriends over. My husband was watching the Knicks. We're having wine. And I'm like, that's what I'm going to surround myself with.
Amen to that. Your husband, how long have you been married now to
Oh gosh, I
Steve?
don't know. That's a good question. Like 7 years, 8 years. Terrible. I'm terrible at
It's
this.
okay. It's okay.
It was a whirlwind. I've shared this with my TAM fam before on the show. My husband and I got lost the job that I had, and I, for the first time in my life, was unemployed. I was 14 years old when I started working, not when I lost my job. 14 years old when I started working. And all my life, I'd have all kinds of jobs, Deanna. We were talking about this business and you watching
Yes.
my career and Maggie's career. And I appreciate the love that you've extended to me. But I'm like, I was the plush salesperson at Toys R Us. I worked at a jewelry store in Philadelphia that was
Wow.
robbed every other week. I've done it all. You name it, I've had these jobs. And first
And
time in
that's
my
why
life,
you're
I was,
so great because
oh
you've done
boy,
it
I
all.
guess, or some days tired. But I lost a gig, my dream job, and I had 2 years off to build this show, the Tamron Hall show. And in that time, I was also single and I went to LA to do some work and decided to throw myself a pity party because the show wasn't coming as fast as I thought it was. And I'm not in a relationship and I wanted to be in a relationship. And and I'm at the pool and this person that I knew in passing and we'd run into each other all the time came up to me and he's like, "What are the odds?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What are you doing here? Why?" And we started chatting and next thing you know, we went on a pizza date in New York and we moved in together like a couple of weeks later. So when you ask me how long, I mean, it
Wow.
was like
Well, because
truly
you're
whirlwind.
older and already you're like, I don't have time. When you
I
know at
really
that
know.
age.
I mean, truly,
No time.
I'll tell you, it was it was a pretty racy move. But even the first date, my husband's like, "Let's go practicing make a baby now." I'm like, "Get away! I don't even know you." Right. So the
I like that
courtship
he
was
was
quick.
bold. I
He
mean,
was definitely that. I was like, go away, please. But no, we had pizza date and it was amazing. And then we decided because of his age and mine that we would immediately have this conversation about life together. And that would be marriage, that would be a kid, or
hmm
however we were defining it at that time while I was building this talk show.
hmm
So whenever someone asks how long you've been together, I'm like, oh wait, I don't well, it
yeah.
went so fast.
Yeah, it went so fast. So you have a marriage that you treasure, your son,
Yeah.
your talk show, all of these things
Yeah.
that are so important to you. How do you, I mean, it's the age old question. How do
Yeah.
you prioritize everything? Can you?
No, you can't. Different things. Well, my kid is always my priority, his health, his happiness. But the other day he said to me, Mom, why do you have to go to an event? That event was a priority at that moment. Is it more than him? No, but I couldn't stay. I was lucky to host the Pen America Publishing Awards. It's like the Oscars of book writing. And so I had to go to that. I'd been at the show. I came home, changed, gave him a little hug and hung out with him. His dad was there. They were getting ready to watch the Knicks and I had to go out. One would say that in that moment, yeah, I could say, no, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay here. Call him and tell him I can't make it. I'm canceling. But it was a priority. It was an obligation.
Exactly.
And so for me, it's being honest with him. I tried early on not to sneak out and yeah, sneaking out and going back to my book and my kid having a great attachment to me and his father. I would try to sneak out the door and dad would distract him while I went to work, or dad would distract, I have an event and vice versa. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start telling him where I'm going. So, the other morning he's like, Mom, do you have two shows today? And
Mm,
I said, yes. He goes, why? I
mm,
want you to stay here. And I said, well, this is my job. School is your job. And this is my job. Plus, if you want to go to Disney, you want me to go to this job. So
that's
I was
right.
like, listen.
Exactly right.
So I think for me, of course, my family is always the most important thing. But at every moment, priorities change. And I have
hmm
a priority and obligation to put on 170 shows that hopefully you will love and watch, and the Tan fam will love and watch. And then there are other days where, for example, and I've never shared this, and my team will laugh that I'm sharing this. April 24th is a holiday for my show. And what I mean by that, that is my son's birthday.
Mm,
I don't work on my son's birthday. Now,
mm.
I've earned the ability to be able to do that. I'm the creator, executive producer, and, host of my show. With that comes some perks, right? And
Exactly.
that perk for me is if I have to shoot 9 shows the day before, cool. If I have to
That's
shoot
right.
30 the day after, cool. But April 24th is a national holiday for me because the idea of missing that one day of school when your parents come up with your birthday cake or whatever they do. In my kids' school, it's vegan, nut free. And so I bring these little muffins from Whole Foods. But I'm 55. So going back, Maggie, to the question you asked about almost 55, what are the perks of being an older mom,
Yeah.
right? The perk is not caring in that moment what anybody thinks,
Amen.
but me.
Yes.
I wouldn't have been able to do that at 25 for two reasons: young, and I'm starting out. 35, I'm in the middle of the game, right?
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
now, I fought my way back into this business, into this chair, into this position. And yes, it's great to have my name on a show, and that's wonderful. But the biggest perk, truly, for me to date, has been able to say out loud, this day is a day that I am not working. And I'm not going to lie to you about why. I could create something. I could have easily said, well, because I got this conference.
Mm-mm. You don't
No,
have to.
I want to take muffins to the school.
hmm
And that's that.
I love that.
Good for you.
So he's your little Harlem honey, right?
He is that. Well, it's so funny. He was born, our first home was in Harlem when we had Moses. But in my book, I say to people, Deanna, that Harlem is every neighborhood, right? So this book, the character Moses is in the first grade and he starts out in the world exploring his neighborhood. He's super shy. He's upset. They're no longer in Texas. He's from Texas. And now he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to get to
Where
know
you're from.
noisy, busy, yeah, right? Noisy, busy, loud New York. And for me, it's a reminder that our kids don't leave our home and go straight to school. They leave your home and go into the neighborhood. That is your first moment to explore. So whether your neighborhood is Tampa, his grandparents live in Hollywood, Florida, and Wellington. His other grandmom lives in Texas. Wherever your neighborhood is, whether it's rural or whether it's city, whatever the makeup of your neighborhood, the first place your kids are able to build confidence and exposure to other people is the neighborhood. So he set sail into his new neighborhood that really is a representation of all of our lives.
Yes, I have a St. Pete honey who is a little bit of an
Ah!
introvert, and I
You got to
have a
buy her the
problem
book.
because I'm a little bit of an extrovert. I can be both,
Yeah.
but when I'm out in the world, I'm an extrovert. So
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like it's hard for extroverts to parent introverts. When this
Mm,
is your job, Maggie, this is your job.
yeah.
What do you do to parent when you feel like you're
Yeah.
different from your kid? How do you do that
And
different
see, funny
parenting?
enough, Deanna, we are similar. My son, my mother will, and we've talked about it on the show. My friends call me a social introvert. Like I am an introvert. I would, if I have my choice of the best restaurant in the world, I'm going to have my friends here at my house
Me
with wine.
too. Yeah.
I am not. I work very hard to be social outside of my show. In my show, it's my world. Maggie, once we're on air, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we forget there's even a camera
Mm-hmm.
because that's our training. We've been in this 30 years, right? And so for me, in my studio, I'm quite comfortable with the audience, with the experience of it. But I just went to a party the other night celebrating Sherry Shepherd and Taraji P. Henson. They have a new Netflix movie coming out called Straw, and it was supposed to be this women's, kind of thing. I was like, oh my God, like all the
Yeah.
way there. I've got butterflies. I'm
All
like,
the
oh my God,
people.
I'm going to be awkward. I'm going to have to say hi. And then I get there and I truly make myself come out of my shell. And guess what? Every time someone, Niecy Nash, like, hey girl, there's Gail King, it's this whole thing. But the lead up there, I had to hype myself up to be social. And not because I don't like people or it's the insecurity of being in a new place or feeling that you won't fit in. And so growing up, my mom says I was very, very shy. And even though I'm, outgoing on the surface, inside, I am still this 7-year-old person who doubts myself in environments. If there's a hot party, there was something happening. It's a Met Gala party I was invited to, something, and my friends are like, oh my God. And I'm like, do I have
No.
to go? My cousin's like, you have to go. I'm like, do I have to? Really? She's like, just go show your face. I'm like, ah.
That
But
is so
and again,
funny.
it's
It
just
A
because
lot of
is.
a lot of TV people will tell you the same
I've
thing.
heard it a
Like
million times.
I am the most quiet person outside of here, but you
Mhm.
turn it on when you have to because you love it
Yeah.
because you feel
You love
comfortable.
it. It ignites something. It's like a
Yes, it
charge. It's like a
does.
charge. So parenting a kid, my son and I are similar in that way. But funny enough, Deanna, you asked me that because I was never a Legos person. Like I am, my brain is not wired to the Lego world. My son is Lego crazy. And he's like, Mom, come and help me with the Lego. And I'm like, can we draw? Wait a minute. Let's go plant some flowers because I'm a gardener. And so I'm like, let's go do something I like.
You'll
Wink,
learn
wink,
from each other.
yeah. And I'm just like, oh boy. But then I said, okay, fine. And now I didn't even, this is how far behind I am with the Lego game. They have like apps that will walk you through how to do the Lego. I find these apps. I'm like, okay, great. I'm meeting him in the middle. We're doing the Lego, but it's working in the way my mind works, which is a video. And so we just built this whole astronaut thing with the Lego. But yeah, in that way, he's very different. He's very detail oriented already at age 6 in a way that blows me away. Like he loves
Mm.
chess. All the games I hated
Oh,
as a kid, he
he's
loves.
Does he have
cerebral.
a math brain?
He has a math brain, but he also loves music. I mean, he
Oh,
loves it's the funniest thing. We'll say, Moses, do your dance. And as shy as he is, oh, he'll break out. And we call it the Elaine because he does the Elaine. And I'm like, what are you doing? The Elaine from Seinfeld. But no, he loves
Snaps.
music. Kids Bop, Maggie, we talked about the last time. He loves music. He has a Casio keyboard in his room and he makes his own original songs and we record them hopefully to show him one day. If I literally said Deanna and Maggie, he would create a song to like I don't know, the melody for, Bye Bye Black Sheep. And he would be like, Dan and Maggie.
Oh,
And he writes, he doesn't write them, but he creates his own original songs. And they actually make sense. It's not just word salad. So he's got a very beautiful mind. He is still, I'll be honest, again, having a 6-year-old now who's very clever and very smart, but still social and emotional development is so important.
Mm.
And so for me, with the character Harlem Honey, it was important that I show the protagonist be a boy. I could have probably sold the book quicker if it was a character based on me and an
mm-hmm.
empowering message for girls, because right now that is heavily in the zeitgeist because it's been heavily needed. But when I had my son, we would look for books, and boys showing emotions were often a dragon or a car. There were very few where the character and the protagonist was an actual little boy showing his emotions. And so now, being a so-called boy mom, um, it is front of mind for me to try and have these conversations of social and emotional, which, he and we're different in that way. And that I'm an adult. I've learned how to process these things, and teaching him without using my adult lens
Right.
has been interesting.
There's a conundrum, I think, when you have a shy kid is when you have to go out into the world and they have to
Mm.
talk to adults. And
It's hard.
my daughter has this little like whisper thing where adults are going like,
Hmm.
what did you
Yeah.
say?
Hmm.
I don't want her to be disrespectful,
Yeah.
but I also don't want her to be uncomfortable. So how do you handle
Yeah.
that?
Well, and ours is amplified because I'm on television. And so people come up all the time and they know him, and they will say hi to him, and he will do exactly, Dana, what your daughter does, defer to shyness. With us, though, because of the volume of people, and I love my TAM fam, and they see that, and I've never had anybody, well, I've had a couple, but not many incidents where I was like, hey, but he's given a choice. And I tell him all the time, you don't have to say hello, because in truth, his amount of interaction is not based on what a normal child would see. I mean, a child whose parent is not on TV,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so what I try to do is give him the choice. Now, at restaurants, though, you're ordering your food, you have to look up and say, can I have my pasta? Hi, how are you? So that's a everyday experience, or a frequent enough experience. You're going to take your kid to order something, or your family might go out for dinner. So things that fall under what I see as the usual arc of life, which is, I'm lucky enough to go to dinner with my parents. I'm going to look
Yes.
up and order the food. Please and thank you. Eye contact.
Yeah.
Those I require. But when people are saying hi to me as my profession, I don't require him to say hello back,
That's smart.
because it's not a comfort zone for me.
Exactly.
And I say to him, if you want to say hi, and he'll do fist bump. He kind of got lately, and he'll pick and choose. We were on a flight the other day, and this lovely lady was behind me, and she was like, "Oh my God, I love you, Sean." I say, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And then, oh, did I lose you?
No, we're here.
Oh,
You're
okay.
just up full. You're just up full. You're there.
I was like, "Oh my God, that's me." Oh, I don't want you to see my pink leggings that I have.
You keep it
I'm like,
real,
oh no, I
Tamron.
got a cute shirt on and a pink leggings that don't match.
No.
No, this lovely lady was behind us, and my son, for whatever reason, just started, like, he could not take his eyes off of her, and he was like shyly flirting, and she's waving at him, and that was his choice. He chose to engage with her in that way, and it was adorable. But I get what you're saying, Deanna, because it is tough. We want them to have a healthy fear, but also be kids who can look someone in the eye and say, "Hello, Miss Maggie. How are you? Hi, Miss Deanna." But it's tricky.
It is tricky. So at this age, 6, what is top of mind for you? What is your main worry as the mother of a 6-year-old?
Oh boy. I want him to keep his spiciness with a healthy balance of politeness. And, I don't want to kill his spirit. I live with a baby bull. Like, he is very, very vocal now. And he is like, I'm not going. And I'm like, wait, calm down, buddy. And so you want that kid, especially today, to be able to advocate for themselves, to be able to project confidence on the occasions that they need to, and also be able to be humble and kind and all of those things. We have a list of rules in our home. So it's a balance right now because I have a very outgoing boy. Ironically, his journey started just as his Harlem Honey, where this kid
Mm-hmm.
was very shy. He just finished his first improv musical thing, and he's loving himself a lot lately because he's 6, and I did this myself, and mom, I can do it. And I'm like, I'll
Wow.
give you an example, Maggie. The other day, he put his socks on. I got it. I can do it myself. But he put the socks on wrong. Now, I had that moment of going, do I say like the heel is, dude, your sock is actually not on right, but I
Yeah.
had to let it go.
Good.
I didn't say anything. And I was like,
Good.
good on you. Your
Yes.
sock is on. I didn't say you put on right. I said, you put it on.
I love it.
Just let it
Technically,
go.
you didn't lie. You didn't lie.
Yeah, technically I
Yeah.
didn't lie.
You know
It's
what?
just, wanting a confident kid who's kind. The
Yes.
research shows that somewhere around 1 million boys are graduating, fewer boys than girls. The social emotional arc of boys, that Netflix special, Adolescence,
Oh, yeah.
millions of people watch. It was so disturbing because you have a lot of young men being lured into these conversations that are dangerous for them. And so I really want him to understand that I'm an empowered woman. I benefited greatly from empowering figures telling me I could do anything. And I want him and other boys to have that same luxury. I give the example of if you say to a little girl, or you not to a little girl, but you say about a little girl, she's a little badass. Everyone's like, yes. And if you say that about a little boy, it's like cringe. It's like,
Mm.
wait, what? He's a little badass. It takes on a different meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want my son and other little boys to benefit from the benefit of the doubt, to understand that not every boy is a nefarious character. Not every teenage boy is to be feared. We have experienced a lot of maybe unintentional fallout from the way we have, as in the media and in other places, portrayed young men of all backgrounds.
I'm glad you
A
said
know?
that.
100%. We are going to do a whole podcast about that
Yes.
very topic because, look, as a boy mom myself, I have a 14-year-old son, and we also talked about adolescence. It's frightening, but the fear doesn't serve me as a mom in any way. It's like, what can I learn from this, and how can I help my child? We have to be actively involved in preventing all these things that shows like adolescence, that research like the one you cited about the state of boys today. What can we take from that and use it to help our children? And that's what
Absolutely.
I'm
And that's
doing.
why this character, as I said, the Harlem Honey, his best friend, Layla, is his friend, but he is leading the way. He is finding his confidence, right? And he is being curious. And it was important for me to have this character who presents as a boy, who happens to be a boy of color, but it's clear in the book that his father is Jewish, and my husband inspired that character. But it is about having this moment of sensitivity of a boy who's showing anger in the beginning. There's a little picture of him. He's all angry. My son thinks that's the funniest page because he's like, because that's how what I live with daily. And it's also vulnerability. And if I can have this little character who's in the first grade, be in the room with another little boy or even a little girl, and they see that he's not scary, he's going through this experience. I think it's so important. So I have been, like you, Maggie and Deanna, really on, and I'm happy that you're doing an episode on it. I have been on my proud soapbox about it because it was something I didn't expect.
Mhm.
I didn't know, and I may have taken it for granted, even though I have a brother and a nephew who are wonderful, and go and are just the best people you can imagine. When I see the data out there, we can't ignore that somehow society in many places felt that we needed to over-index so that women like myself and you all could thrive, and it may have come at the expense of some of our boys.
You
Yeah,
don't need to you don't need to put anyone down to
Exactly.
bring someone else up.
Yeah.
The New York
Yeah.
Times did this article, and I'm paraphrasing here. That's like, if you think there's something wrong with boys, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Because
just
there's
saw
this
it. My friend sent
feeling-
it.
Yes. And I saw you talking about this on The Views. Like, how do we course correct? We need to look in the rearview mirror and see what we did wrong, but then let's look forward and see what we need to do right for boys. I have
Exactly.
2 girls, so I don't live that life, but I see some of these boys being lost in the classrooms.
They don't know
Yeah,
who
I
they're
think-
supposed to be
I think
anymore.
that's a great. So I think, first of all, my friend brought it to my attention. She said, every time someone says the phrase girls run the world, how about we stop saying that? It meant something, and I know the intention was great, but imagine being a boy. I'll tell you a joke I used to tell. I never liked that term, blondes have more fun. Because I was like, can you imagine being
Yes.
a brunette? Like you're
Yes.
like, then
Yeah, you're like,
you're
excuse
instantly
me.
labeled as bored, right? It's like, what?
Hi, no.
It's like, I mean, we like a whole generation of women were forced into coloring their hair
You're
because
so right.
someone once said blondes were more fun, right? And it stuck. And so for me, while I again benefited from a world that said girls rule the world. I am now wise enough to believe that that wasn't the right curve correction,
Any
right? We,
extreme, I think, is dangerous.
yeah.
Yes.
Let's
And so I
keep it in
think
the middle. Let's
let's
keep it
keep it in the middle, or
right.
let's keep a balanced conversation, and let's acknowledge why girls or
Exactly.
women needed that extra support and still do. Equity wise, we still make less than men, and women of color still make less than everybody. Those are facts. I'm a journalist who is a talk show host,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also a human, and I know that. You can have the layered conversation. So for me, it's not about stamping my feet and saying, darn it, recognize that we are boy moms and our boys, because even if you're not a boy mom, Deanna, your daughter benefits
Exactly.
from
How
us
we're raising our
balancing this
boys.
out, because
Exactly.
a lot of the vitriol from adolescence was directed at at women. So
Mm-hmm.
you're raising these
Mm-hmm.
toxic boys to believe everything that's going wrong in their lives is because of a woman. Well, guess who they end up taking that anger out on? Women.
Women.
So if we get this better, I don't know what right is, but if we better this, your daughters benefit from it
That's
because
perfectly
Yeah.
said.
we lessen the number of angry boys like we saw in that film and like we see every day in real life, who not only hurt themselves, they hurt others in extreme cases.
It's
Yeah.
so difficult though, and you're not there yet, thank God, to
Yeah.
monitor what they're getting online.
Oh,
Whew.
And I mean, we're also going to do an episode about what moms of older children want moms of younger children to know,
yeah.
and it would be number one, keep them away from that phone as long as possible, which we did.
Yeah.
Just be on top of their. Don't
Yeah.
let them become addicted to technology. And then
Yeah.
something else that you touched upon, raise them to be confident so that they can
Mm-hmm.
be comfortable in their own skin and sure of who they are. So I'm curious to
Mm-hmm.
know, do you have things that you do intentionally
Mm-hmm.
with that in mind while you're raising
Yeah.
Moses?
Oh, we do affirmations in the morning. Like there's a little series called Gracie's Corners. This is family that
Yes.
created out of Houston. It's super cute. Even Snoop Dogg has an affirmation. Snoop Dogg has a YouTube kids channel. It's called Doggy Land or something like that. My kid loves it because it's all hip hop versions of popular children's songs, but he has one called Affirmations, and Snoop is rapping a child-friendly affirmation.
I love
That's
this.
And
awesome.
I
so,
love this.
You
yeah,
write
it's
that
pretty
down.
funny. It's Doggy
I know.
Land. It's pretty funny. It's on YouTube. Doggy Land is a huge hit in our house. And so I try to do affirmations. I read somewhere if you tell someone something 3 times, it's more likely to set in. So he's walking out the door. I say, you know what? I expect you to have a beautiful day. I expect you to have a beautiful day. I expect you to have a beautiful day. Or I pick, I expect you are kind. You are the kindest person I know. And I slow down and I say, did you hear me? You are the kindest person I know. I'm so proud of you for being the kindest person. It's an honor to know you, and I try to affirm him every morning. So when the day gets busy and I might not do it, we set a time where I try to affirm him in the morning, works out for us, for some people in the bathtub. Did I tell you how awesome you are? No, look at me. Did I tell you how awesome you are?
Oh.
And then pause, pause, pause. You are so awesome. It blows me away,
3 times.
and I do it and I walk out the door, and it's my attempt to be the voice in his ear when other voices might seem like they are overwhelming.
Gosh.
Maggie, what
That
are
is what's
affirmations
needed.
do you give your children?
You know how what's important for me to raise confident children, and this I have learned from having children for 19 years now. The most important thing you can do to raise a confident kid is to let them be as independent as possible so
Yeah.
that they feel that they can do things, that they feel capable and they feel like they contribute positively. They are needed in the family. So of course I shower them with the I love yous and all those verbal affirmations, but it's the nonverbal stuff. It's the like, don't step in to do everything for them. Let them do it and feel that sense of accomplishment. So it's hard because sometimes in the morning you're in such a rush and you're like, oh, let me tie your shoe. Yeah. But you're like, can I tie your shoe?
Yeah, Moses in his sock, you know?
Oh, no, it's true. It is so true.
That's why I applauded how you handled that, because that
even
made me
with
feel
fear. It's true, though, Maggie, even with fear, when I was writing the book, one of the things that happened with us, we'd gone to Kids Bop concert, which I bring up a lot with Maggie as a fellow Kids Bop mom. But we were, my son loves Kids Bop. He was watching it on YouTube or whatever. And so he's like, I love their music, Spotify, you know. And so he wants to go to the concert. Fine, we get tickets. We get to the concert. It's like an hour away in Jersey. The closer we get, I see it's a lot of people. I'm like, oh boy, because he'd never been to a concert before. But he's cool. He goes to the line. And then as we get to the seat, his hands started to get like sweaty. He started getting fidgety and he stopped and he didn't want to go. He said, I want to go home. Too many people. I want to go home. I want to go home. And I said, well, you wanted to come here and we're here and the Kids Bop folks are going to come out. This is what's called a concert. This is, you know, and I mean, and it was, I don't know, 12,000 people. It was massive and a lot of screaming, a lot. And he's like, I want out of here. Now, my instinct as a mom is to say, you're right. We're going to the car and we're leaving. Because I could see he was just crippled with fear of like, I don't want to do this. And I didn't want to drag him to the seat. We're going and sit down. I waited. And to your point about offering patience to him and grace to myself, I just sat there and I said, okay, well, let's just hang on for a second. I got calmer. I calmed my body down and I was like, all right. And slowly but surely he inched up to the chair, inched up. And next thing I know, he is doing the Bruno Mars Kids Bop song or whatever. So that was an enjoyable moment. Fast forward 3 months later, Kids Bop is now in New York. I said, you know, Kids Bop is back. You want to go see them? Yes. He brings his friend. When I tell you at the end of the show, he met the kids, he goes, great job, kids. You guys killed it. I'm like, who are you? You're fine. You know, but like I could have, to your point, Maggie, taken control of that situation, the mama bear and me wanting to protect him. And we're out of here. Next time. We'll try it next time. Versus making myself calm my body down, which helped him. And then saying, we're going to just figure this out. Let's ease into this and let him lead the way. There was no rush. You know, I had to say, I don't care if 100 people are staring at me, wondering what is wrong with my kid.
Good for you.
And we waited out.
Waited
out. And it turned into a golden moment because my child is the kind of person with his caution because he leads with caution so often, less more than ever. I have to provide him that time, to your point. So he has given me the blessing in many ways of being his mom, but he has reminded me to slow down. So I try to bake in enough time for the shoes to be put on, for the 99th question about addresses and where we're going, because those are all curious things that build their confidence. And as we see in the book, help ease their fears. Exactly. And it's been great, but that is great advice, Maggie.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but the Kids Bop days, they reach a point, as mine have now at 9 and 10, and they realize the words aren't what they are supposed to be.
Oh, yes.
So I got like it's not milkshakes. Girl.
It's like I laugh at the Bruno Mars song because, you know, Bruno says, grab my cup, put some liquor in it. And on the Kids Bop, I say, grab my cup, put some water in it. And every time I hear it, I snicker. I'm like, that's not what he said. But okay, but we're about, thank you for the warning.
They figure it out.
I love this conversation. Maggie and the moms teaching us that one day your child will ask what the real lyric is.
and one day they will play music that will make you gasp, that say the actual words. And you're like,
oh my God.
But anyway.
Well, I know who I'm going to call for more advice on this. So thank you, ladies, for bracing me on the music.
Welcome. Listen, before we wrap up, I have to ask you, because you're coming back for another season. Congratulations. Yes. Season 7.
You.
What do you I love what you do, because you always find what you're passionate about and then turn it into a topic for your show that is relatable to everyone. I love that you do that.
Thank you. You know, I truly believe that for me anyway, it's not just, I know it can come off as like it's something I'm passionate about, but my team, I have the most phenomenal team and we collaborate. And I encourage, especially my younger producers, as I said, I went from being the youngest in the newsroom to now being the senior in the newsroom. And I embrace that because I want for them more than anything that when I retire from this to have their own space and lane in this world of media. So whether it is a podcast or whatever version that we are consuming by the time I retire, that they have learned things from me. And with our show, we have intentions, and that's not novel. But what we do provide, I hope, is to what you pointed out is this conversation that people can sink their teeth in. We laugh together, we cry together, we talk together, and the range is wild. We just did a whole, cookout with Ja Rule and jamming with him and having this family, picnic style show to thoughtful conversations like Kelsey Grammer. I just officiated my 5th wedding and the first time that we've done it inside our new studio to celebrate love. And it's a beautiful thing because the couple that we married, Maggie, blended family, a single mom of 2, fell in love with this gentleman who was a Taekwondo master who really started to teach her kids Taekwondo. They started out as friends. And then one day she said she's on the porch having a glass of wine. And she said, God said, that's your husband. And whirlwind later, they are a beautiful blended family. I was raised by my stepfather. And to watch this man step in, her son has autism and he loves him completely and wholly, as well as her daughter. And to bring them together on my stage and marry them was something I did not and do not take lightly. So for me, the show is about everyday conversations. It really is. I'm online all day looking for the things you're talking about. We do our social media debate show. That was born because I was online and I saw a couple charging $350 to attend their wedding because they couldn't cover the cost. And it set off this huge debate over, is it right to charge people? She charged her mother and we had them come on. The couple came on, they charged for their wedding, even her mother. And so we created this whole hour of social media debate topics. And so it really is meeting people where they are. It runs the gamut, and that's life, right? If you just sit around and talk about sports, somebody may not like your team. If you just talk about politics, they're going to run out the door. You just talk about your kid, they might be like, my kid's cuter. But if you talk about everything, right? Which is, even though your show is Maggie and the Moms, we talk about life.
Yeah. Well,
which happens to be a big part of it for us moms. But we're talking about it all.
We've talked about everything today. I have so enjoyed it. It has flown by. It has been wonderful.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough. And I want to say, I admire you. I admire you. I admire you. 3 times.
And I receive it and right back at you. Well, I hope to see you in person. We'll be in Florida next week for the holiday, but we will be on tour promoting season 7 of the Tamron Hall show, the 2nd longest running syndicated daytime talk show host in Disney's history. And it would not be possible without cool moms like you two rooting for us. So I love you both. Thank you so much.
We love you. Thanks, Tamron.
Okay.
Amazing. The best.